Drinking buddies. I think we all hate it when we're hunting a specific bourbon. We go all the way to a store that we think might have it, and you have to walk out with something that isn't that bottle. So your drinking buddy is here to help you find a great alternative to some of those allocated products that in some cases are even better than the product that you might have been hunting for in the first place.
I'm your drinking buddy.
All right, drinking buddies, I thought we would start off in a pretty simple place and begin with a bottle that I've talked about before, as well as an alternative that I've talked about before. So we'll make it brief, but I feel like you got to start with Eagle Rare because I feel like this bottle is becoming more. I feel like this bottle is becoming more of a heavily sought after item than Blanton's at this point. Now this one is getting to be as heavily sought out as something like Blanton's, and I've heard horror stories of liquor managers that are receiving 20 phone calls a day asking for Eagle Rare, and it is a good bottle. It's a really good bottle. It's a 10-year Buffalo Trace product. I like it, but this is better and it's everywhere. But sometimes we let our fear of missing out get the best of us, and especially for new bourbon drinkers, if you haven't had an Eagle Rare, if you haven't landed one, seeking it out is probably something you're going to continue to do. But if you do so, just make sure you already have a bottle of Russell's Reserve because you're missing out on something even better. Next up, this one is becoming more easy to find. For a while there, it was harder to find, but it's getting easier. Sazerac Rye. This is a quality product, but you know, it is allocated. You know, like I said, it is becoming easier to find in some areas and some markets. You know, I'm seeing it at the grocery stores now. I'm seeing it at Total Wine now. But I do have an alternative for you if it's hard to find in your area, and that is just the classic Rittenhouse Rye, bottled in bond, 100 proof. This one's got a lot of red licorice flavor on it for me. This one's actually got a little bit of a black licorice flavor on it for me, as well as a little bit of caramel, which is not something I pick up on a lot of other ryes. But you know, your butterscotch and your other classic rye flavors, those baking spices. Anyway, solid bottle, becoming harder to find. Great bottle, easy to find. I feel like I should address the fact that I'm suspiciously not drinking in this video on antibiotics, so I can't drink. So I'm enjoying a diet tonic water today. Yeah, it's great. It's totally awesome without gin in it. All right, so next up we're going to talk about Booker's. I cannot trash on this bottle because it is the bottle that made me fall in love with bourbon. However, it just keeps going up in price. I've also heard stories that they limit this product on purpose so that people will seek it more and it'll become more of a heavily allocated product that people hunt for. Whereas if they wanted to, it's under a 7-year product, they could probably pump this out and have way more batches out there that are readily available at a lower price, and they don't. So it's a little frustrating for me for that, especially when you can get you know, something like a Knob Creek single barrel proof from the same company for half the price. But I wanted to specifically talk about Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered for this one because I feel like this is a better product in many ways than some of the Bookers I've had. This is a really, really excellent barrel proof product. It tastes older than it is. It's MGP juice that they ship to Nevada and then they age it there in Nevada. And as you guys know, whiskey ages faster in the Southwest, ages faster in Nevada, Arizona, Texas than it does in Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana. Yeah, it picks up some great leather flavor off of it, a lot of great baking spice. No matter what you feel about Booker's, I highly recommend the Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered. Really, really good bottle. Now, I've talked about Blanton's in another video, and I gave 5 alternatives to Blanton's, so check out that video if you're interested in Blanton's. I also did 5 alternatives to Pappy Van Winkle. If you're interested in that video, it's in the description. I also included Weller in there, but since then I found some more Weller than I had before I made that video. And so I did want to talk about a great alternative to Weller 12, and that is going to be the... It's around here somewhere. great alternative to Weller 12 that's readily available, at least in my area, is this Wilderness Trail single barrel Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey bottled in bond. Weller 12 sitting at 90 proof. The Wilderness Trail is sitting at 100 proof. Around the same price point. It's about $40 to $50, $40 to $50 retail, but you know, sells for a lot more than that. You know, I feel like a lot of people who taste this bottle can be a little bit disappointed in it because they've been hunting it for so long. For me, I tasted it for the first time at a bar and I had a pour and I'm like, nope, no disappointment here. I love this. And you know, I did finally get a bottle of it. I did pay a little bit more than retail for it. I bought it at a retail store, but they knew what they had, so they charged a little more than retail. But really, really solid bottle. This one's good too. I can walk into Total Wine any day of the week and buy this. This I had to hunt 2 years for. So at the end of the day, you gotta weigh the positives and negatives, but if you're hunting for Weller 12 and you've never had Wilderness Trail, you're missing out. This one was a harder one to choose. I decided to highlight the E.H. Taylor Single Barrel because it is a really great offering, under 12 years old, but it has a lot of age flavor going on. You get a little bit of that dryness on the finish that kind of like washes your mouth out with the dryness, which comes from the oak age. You know, the longer it sits in oak, the more you're gonna get that flavor. And if too much of that, I hear, can be really bad. I've never really had a bourbon where I was like, wow, there's too much of that, I don't like it, it's too old. Never really experienced that before, but I've heard that exists in products over 18 years. But at 12, 15 range, you just get a little bit of that, and I feel like it's a good note. And if you get a sweet spot, you know, some bourbons are in the, you know, 10 to 15 year range. Sometimes you get the sweetness of the young bourbon as well as the dryness from the older bourbon, and it becomes this really unique thing. And I like those qualities, and that's why I'm gonna compare it to Calumet 15. I'm sure some of you guys just saw a review of this. It's a little bit older than this product, but if I had them both blind, I don't know if I'd be able to tell you which was the older product. I would be able to tell you this one tastes better. This is one of those occasions where the hunt is the juice is worth the squeeze on this bottle. It's excellent. If you're hunting for bourbons, you know, you want to keep your eyes out for any of the E.H. Taylor products, but specifically this single barrel, really good product. But if you can't find it, you might be able to walk into a local liquor store and buy this for $99.99. Costs a little more than the single barrel, but it's older. It costs a little bit more than the E.H. Taylor single barrel, but you can find it. It costs a little bit more than the E.H. Taylor single barrel, but I can walk into a store and buy this any day of the week, and this I had to hunt 2 years for. So, E.H. Taylor single barrel, decent recommendation, Calumet 15. Well, drinking buddies, those are my recommendations if you're hunting for allocated products and you've ignored some of the bottles that are just readily available on the shelf. I definitely, when I first got into bourbon, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get Weller, I gotta get Pappy, I gotta get E.H. Taylor, I gotta get all of these bottles. And, you know, there are really good stuff out there that's allocated, but there's also a lot of really good stuff out there that is not. And it probably would behoove me to stop spending so much time hunting out rare bottles and just try everything that I can get on the shelf. A great example that I thought of today, I've heard really, really great things about Peerless Bourbon and Peerless Rye. Never had them. So at the end of the day, maybe I need to be going to my local Total Wine and buying those bottles rather than, you know, constantly looking for these other ones. But in the meantime, drinking buddies, we'll see you on the next one.